Your San Francisco 49ers lost in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime. And in this Shanahan era, there's been a bunch of tough losses. A bunch of losses that you were basically questioning if Kyle Shanahan's the guy for this. Is this the right roster for this? Or if it's just Patrick Mahomes or the Rams are the better team in this scenario, and it's or the Eagles. There's a bunch of excuses that have gone through this era in the Shanahan era. I think this loss was just straight up two teams that punched at each other's levels. One found a way to get a lucky hit in because they are the more experienced team. They are the team that has the championships. And the 49ers are still trying to figure out how do they get the sixth Lombardi trophy that has been eluding this franchise since 1995 or 94, whatever. So there's a lot of talk about for this game, so let's get into it. But before we do any of that, let's roll that intro. Hey guys, it's Austin Rashard here once again for another 49ers video. Last 49ers, we need to do a recap video. So, second to last video of this season. So, we gotta go through this game. We gotta go through this game immediately. It is, let me grab my phone here, 11:15. It took me a little while to get over it. I think that's the one good thing about being autistic. I'm still feeling the effects of this Super Bowl loss. Don't get me wrong here, but my emotions are more in check. And, they may pop out, but that's the thing. It's the Super Bowl. It hurts, especially since I'm a 20-year-old San Francisco 49ers fan. I have not seen this team win a championship. And, I felt good about this chance of them winning a championship. Because the difference between this one and, say, the last Kansas City game with, Super Bowl, is that you have a quarterback that you trust in Brock Purdy. You have Christian McCaffrey, the Offensive Player of the Year. You got Deebo Samuel, offensive weapon. You have one of the best left tackles in the game. And you go into this game here. And let's just go through it, right? First half, right? You scored 10 points. And, I think all week the storyline was whoever gets to 20 points first, you're feeling comfortable with yourself. You're feeling that you can get there and win the game, right? That was basically the mindset of a lot of 49er fans and content creators. If you get to 20-something points, something that, the Chiefs have not been able to do all year, you're going to win this game. And, they seem to have the offense for it, right? Christian McCaffrey was running well. Pass game was working well. Second half comes in, and Spagnuolo, who's probably one of the greatest, defensive coordinators in the game right now, probably the best defensive coordinator right now in the game, made his adjustments, dared you to throw, dare you to run on this Kansas City D-line that somehow made the clutch play all throughout the second half. And the 49ers, they just couldn't do it, right? Be it that the Kansas City secondary was playing their, what off. The D-line, as I said before, making the clutch hits and pressures to get Brock Purdy off his game. There's a good case to be made. Hey, should they run the ball more? But here's the thing about it. If I'm starting the second half and that's where a lot of the rage comes from, right? How the second half started, right? You look at the stats, right? You look at what was working through the first half of this game for the 49ers. Passing was 19 percent more effective on first and second down than running it. Why? Because they run commit on first and second down. And it didn't help you even more when Feliciano got injured and Burford comes in. And it's just a very. And, throughout this game, right, there were clutch moments from this offense, right? Being able to go and tie this game, getting the lead, and, getting your opportunities to stay on the field. Sorry, my emotions are starting to kick in now. But anyway, the main point is this, right? This offense had an OPOI, a quarterback that you fully trust in. I fully believe that. It's just that, you face a better defense, right? You face a defense that kept the Chiefs in games all year long, and they continue to do that in the Super Bowl. There's not much you could probably think that the 49ers can do besides some culture impacts by changing stuff on this offense, right? And just very much an interesting thing offensively. I have to give shout-outs to Juwan Jennings. He threw the first touchdown pass of this game. He made a clutch, touchdown catch third down throw. The guy was on pace to be the Super Bowl MVP if the 49ers won. And, yeah. It's very frustrating. And the last thing offensively I'm going to talk about is overtime itself, right? I think they had a good plan for overtime, right? If you're going to go first, right, in this weird playoff format, I understand completely the plan that was going on with the 49ers. They were basically trying to give the defense as much rest as possible and then go and score and hope for the best. And you know what? It worked. It worked as intended. You got to the red zone. There was only 7 or 8 minutes left, and Christian gets stuffed. The line could not hold long enough, and I think this is the one thing that I do find interesting, right? I feel like Kyle does trust Brock Purdy. He trusts his offense. He trusts everything about this offense. If he didn't trust Brock Purdy, Trey Lance would still be on this team. Or Jimmy Garoppolo, or Sir Sam Darnold will probably be in the game if he didn't trust Brock Purdy in this, atmosphere. But he trusts him enough to go for fourth down to get into overtime. But for some reason, in the overtime situation where you need a score, there's a very interesting story to go here about how much can you trust. It's the Super Bowl. It's the elimination style. You don't get here very often, and I don't think I do trust the mindset. Hey, we gave our defense this much time to rest. Let's just kick the field goal. I understood that in the moment. I watched that defense, utterly, not, made Patrick Mahomes look human for 3 quarters and some of the fourth quarter. It's fully understandable why Kyle Shanahan trusts. I just don't. I think more with overtime rules like this, there needs to be more information to see. Does really going first make it a better scenario for you? And that's going to be a talking point now. Was it right to go first to try and say, hey, match us? And with Patrick Mahomes, it was an interesting situation, interesting call. I'm glad that Kyle Shanahan stuck to his beliefs, his ideals, and kicked the field goal. I still find it dumb. And as I said before, right? This is a lot of the same core, besides for like offensively, mostly a lot of same elements to the core. You know, Kittle, Debo. Wait, I think really Kittle, Debo. Who else is freaking? But you understand my point, right? This is basically the same type of offense that got you to the Super Bowl. And you have a quarterback that you now trust. And, you know, the 49ers still could not have a perfect game. That was a reason I said the 49ers are winning. They will find a way to get their perfect game in the Super Bowl, right? It's the best place to do so. It's just that somehow something did not click for. There was mistakes by Trent Williams, false starts, holdings, because George Kittle had to take a break because of an injury. What else is there? CMC fumbles. He didn't fumble. The last time he fumbled was in Minnesota. But, you know, eventually the fumble did not cost you. It was, well, that one in particular did not cost you. It was a later fumble. And let's talk special teams, right? Jake Moody, for a few, you know, quarters, had the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. Then Buckner, you know, broke it. And, you know, it's hard to talk about this part of the game, right? You make the Chiefs punt, right? Ray McLeod says he is not going to catch this ball, no matter what. There's too many Chiefs around him. And somehow the ball randomly gets onto, you know, the touches a player that wasn't even trying to catch the ball. And it's a live ball. Ray can't catch it. He can't dive for it. And Chiefs get the ball and score. And it's an entirely different ball game. You know, in a way, I was somewhat waiting for that moment. You know, like sometimes you just feel a moment's going to happen. That's just like, oh, Chiefs got the momentum now. They're going to win this game. That's just how this game felt. And that was the moment. That was the moment. It wasn't the moment in overtime when Patrick Mahomes straight up turned into a running back. It was that moment. And it's hard to be mad at the rookie from South Alabama for being in that position, because he wasn't even looking at the ball. He was still like blocking, thinking that Ray was going to catch it. I don't know if he didn't hear him. It was a weird moment for special teams. And let's also talk about this, right? There was a moment in this game where there was a blocked PAT by Jake Moody because he kicked it low. A lot of fans think that is the, you know, decision that, you know, cost the 49ers the game, because, you know, if they needed more, the Chiefs would have been needing more than a field goal to tie the game or get the lead, right? And, you know, in my mindset of this game here, with the way that the Chiefs' offense was going after that missed PAT, I think, you know, the Chiefs would have scored no matter what. It was just they were more comfortable knowing that they could have gotten a field goal to tie the game and not have to make any unnecessary mistakes like the 49ers offense made. So I think they were going to score no matter what that drive. It's just that Jake Moody made it so they were more comfortable not making any mistakes. So yeah, I'm not bashing Moody for missing that. It was just with the context and the situation, I think Mahomes and the Chiefs would have scored no matter what. Now let's talk about defense, right? I think the defense did their best job, right? They were criticized all for 2 weeks straight because they couldn't stop Green Bay, they couldn't stop Detroit. There was a bunch of question marks that this was going to be a blowout because the 49ers defense could not stop Patrick Mahomes. And through the first half, they proved everyone wrong. And third quarter, it was a bunch of field goals and one TD where they were actually pretty much surprised that happened because, as I said before, unlucky bounce of the ball. And, it wasn't until, last drive and overtime that, the defense let you down. But in a way, it was just because they were too tired. And then a defensive battle like this and the 49ers having more injuries, I think it was just a matter of time for the 49ers defense to crack a bit for the Chiefs to get the victory. They did all they could, but you can't. Dre Greenlaw gets injured, and I know Flanagan fouls Winters, Burks. They tried their best to fill in those roles, those gaps, but Greenlaw is Greenlaw. You need him to be the You need him to be the defense that you want to be in. In the end, I think it cost you because there was not a linebacker in the middle that was as aggressive as Greenlaw usually is. And that cost the 49ers in the long run. And, Jair Brown had an interception. Good for him. The D-line, there was a lot of criticism about this D-line. They're all making like $20 million something dollars. They had their impact this game. I will not lie. They had their impact this game, even if there were some holdings that weren't called. But we're not going to care about that because at the end of the game, they both had equal amount of penalties. So there was a clear message with this referee cast that they would, if it was blatant, they would call it. If it wasn't blatant, they weren't going to call it. All right, I think they said this. They were fishing for, they were looking for the big fish, not the small ones. And yeah, very interesting moments here for the 49ers. This team will be looking different next year. I don't think, even though they did their best job at stopping this Chiefs defense, I don't think Steve Wilkes is going to be here next year unless there just isn't another DC available. And also, you got expiring contracts. Chase Young was a rental. Who else is there? A lot of your D-line. Some of your D-line is going to be gone, I think. I think you got some secondary questions now. And, Greenlaw, it has an Achilles injury. Who knows if he's going to return and be Greenlaw again. He's going to be as good as Greenlaw. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for the San Francisco 49ers, right? You have an offense that you thought could get you over the hump. It couldn't get you over the hump. And it isn't just because I think of the scheme. It's more just they're and I know, Purdy was supposed to be the fix for this offense, but there's something else, right? And a big, possibly the biggest fix possible for this 49ers offense is the offensive line. Pull a Kansas City and just draft a bunch of linemen. This is a perfect draft for it. Especially at right tackle. Get a right tackle. That's probably the biggest thing for the 49ers here. I don't know if you're going to trade Ayuk or Debo. I don't know how those contracts look. I don't know, in a sense, how you're going to do this defensively. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the 49ers. Am I going to cover some of it? Yes, free agency, the draft, a recap video, but overall, the 49ers had another opportunity to win the Super Bowl, but there was just something. The ball didn't bounce their way. Straight up. The ball did not bounce their way. And the national narratives are going to be interesting this entire offseason. Kyle Shanahan is going to be talked about as a guy who can't win the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is going to be talked about as a quarterback that can't win it. And yes, this is going to be an interesting offseason. And yeah, this has been Dawson Shard. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment. There's probably going to be more 49ers content on the way whenever I'm bored and all that type of stuff. But, my main focus now is going to be on the LSU baseball season. And if you're interested in me learning about the LSU baseball team, what they are, how they are, I don't know if anyone's going to be watching them because of Giants baseball. But, hey, if you want to get into college baseball, I'm your guy. All right. So this has been Dawson Shard. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment. And I will see you guys next time.